Don't worry about him. He's just, enjoying the same old record. A tough one today. I didn't get to watch the game live. I had a prior engagement that I forgot about. So to record the game, not look at my phone for a good 2 hours, come back, watched it. But I watched it after the Arsenal-Liverpool game, and it was slightly ruined. There was one moment that I caught a bit of commentary as I was cooking. Got his first win, and James Milner scored at 39. So I kind of guessed that we were going to lose, but not in this manner. Frustrating as we're falling into the same traps as last season, can't really hold on to a lead. Something that is a worrying sign, considering that started the season really well at the beginning of last. Then that middle period where we had some real fragility, a real tough patch and a real eye-opener for quite a lot of issues. And then the end of the season, which was quite good. So coming into this, I didn't really know what to expect. We played Wolves, played really well, very excited, had me riding on cloud 9, and then, very quickly crashing down after the Tottenham game, which I thought was just Tottenham. I'll be honest, I thought it was just the Tottenham thing that happens every year, the frustrating bump in the road, but it feels like it wasn't just a bump in the road. It feels like there's something that isn't quite right at City, creases that need to be ironed out, but yeah, a difficult day. But let's go into a bit more of a moody, I feel the lighting is today. I'm very tired, very, very tired, so this might be slightly incoherent. But let's go into the 5 things that I learned about Brighton versus City. Number 1, I think Grealish leaving City is the best and worst piece of business that we've done this window. Now, as a famous man once said, possibly the most creepy man to ever have not existed, the right man in the wrong place makes all the difference in the world. Now, 3 games in to this season, and having already played it's a bit less than a third of the minutes that he played last season, he's already doubled his goal contributions. Now, I'm writing a kind of longer video currently on Jack Grealish and how the situation has kind of opened my eyes once again to the way I view football in the past few years. Maybe as I'm getting older, things have changed, but there's a large video about Grealish coming out. But he's obviously a loved figure inside Manchester City. I don't think really he's done anything wrong to any of the players. He's upset anyone. He's done anything to put himself in negative light with anyone. But just sometimes it doesn't work. That the player, the manager, the system, something's not quite right. We usually see it in the opposite way, though. We usually see, United, the litany of players who have struggled at United, mainly for the reasons I personally feel that there's kind of a toxic environment that surrounds every aspect of Manchester United. That's kind of trickled down from the top, and there's a lot of kind of fear and anxiety if you work there, and that will go into the players, and it's probably just not that nice of a place to work. Obviously, I'm purely speculating here, so I could be completely wrong, but I just feel that some players don't thrive well in certain environments. I think Jack Grealish is a player that Pep thinks is amazing. I think Jack will think that Pep is an amazing manager. I just don't think they fit together. Jack is a renegade. Is that the right word? Everyone said maverick. What's another word? He's like a bit of an anti-hero. The amount of times he's been booed at Man City for no real reason. He's just playing, so they boo him. And he got that a little bit at the beginning of his time at Everton. But how his public perception has turned around just for the fact that he said that he kind of fell out of love with football and he's finding it again, and he's playing like the old Jack Grealish that we loved, and David Moyes is praising him and everything's looking good, everything's kind of, the vibes are right at Everton, and he's quite a large factor in that. The Everton fans have already fallen in love with him, which they would do, of course they would do. He's an incredible player, as well as somebody who brings a lot of character to the pitch. So I'm not surprised that they love him already, but it's the fact that the outside of Everton public persona of Jack Grealish, his stock has risen so much. So for that reason, I love the transfer. I love For me, football, yes, it's great to support my team, and I've always wanted City to do well. But at the end of the day, there's something I find weird about pure bias towards a team. I think you've got to consider that these people are people. They're humans, they're human emotions, human thoughts, human feelings. But that Jack Grealish interview reminded me, and they're not robots. It's not like Jack Grealish is good, shove him into good team and he will be good. There are so many like nuances around these things, and Jack Grealish, I feel, is and I say this in no disrespect because I don't mean it in any disrespect, but quite an emotional person, and good for him for that. But I feel that he needs to be nurtured in a specific way, and I don't think Pep Guardiola is quite the right person for it. I will happily take like the L from a Man City fan's point of view that our £100 million player isn't, and I don't quite understand this, because actually, to be fair, I do deserve a bit of flack because I was winding up someone at work saying that for the reasons that Manchester City signed Jack Grealish, he is a better signing than Declan Rice to Arsenal. And yes, I'm on the wind up a little bit, but it was mainly because of the fact that Manchester City signed Grealish to win the Champions League, and we won a treble, and he's got 2 Premier Leagues on top. So the only way he would be like a flop at Manchester City is just the fact that he was injured and didn't play enough. I'll take the L, let's say, but I kind of don't really agree with it as a concept. But I'll happily take it if he can go to Everton, be loved, enjoy football, and we kind of get that, Aston Villa, England, more importantly, Jack Grealish back, because if he can have a good year, get himself into the World Cup squad, he was vitally needed in the Euros. So to have a World Cup with an in-form, happy Jack Grealish is, something I'm all here for. But yeah, the one thing that does really concern me, the only real negative about this whole thing, is the gap that he leaves within our squad. Which brings me nicely on to point number 2. And that point is that we still have quite a bit to do in the transfer market. I know I did the broken record or record player gag earlier, but I'm going to sound like a broken record when I say that I do genuinely think we need at least 1 or 2 fullbacks. It's very frustrating when you go for years, and yes, it was successful years, but without a dedicated left back. And then you get a dedicated left back, and you don't have a dedicated right back, and it's like, what's the point? What's really the point when you're dipping into the market, you're getting fantastic players for fantastic fees, but you're still leaving holes within the squad? I will be doing a live stream this will go out on Monday, so I will be doing a live stream this evening, my transfer deadline day, just as like a recap of the transfer window, and more so the whole of 2025. So we're going into January and this window, and kind of talking about what I expect for these players and how I rate these players. That's incomings and outgoings. As I said in our last video, I would really, really like Livramento. I'm getting to the point now where I feel it's vital. I think he's a player who, and I'm repeating myself, he can play on both sides, he can defend, he can attack, he's played under pressure. We saw that within the week, and he shut down the world's best within that pressure. I feel he is exactly the kind of person who needs to be playing for a title challenging team, and I feel that we can't be a title challenging team until we've fixed the right back situation. And I know I'm saying this having not had a left back for so many years and this, that, the next. It's different now. I think Arsenal and Liverpool, you look at their starting 11 and they have one high quality player in every position. And then the backups, they may not be as good, but the variety is there. They don't have situations where they're shoehorning players in. And we have 2 midfielders who, it sounds harsh, but they don't get into our midfield. So it's 2 subpar right backs who can't get into the midfield as our right back options for the season, where just spend a decent bit of money, get Livramento, shore up that whole defence, cover for the left. I think the best way of saying it is simply the fact that we can't fully consider ourselves a title challenging team until we have a full right back in the right back position. And I think it's an obvious point. Not filling these positions with at least just like Premier League proven decent right backs just gives us so many holes to exploit. I'll touch on it later. It's one of my other points. But yeah, just having so many weaknesses, evident weaknesses that you could shore up. You've got now a day to do so, which makes things a lot more difficult. But just going into a season with an evident weakness in your team just doesn't make sense to me. Point number 3, quite an obvious one. As expected, Reijnders needs an adjustment period. I think the first game really put a bit of pressure on him because he started so well. It was a fantastic display from him, something I don't think he quite expected to have himself. I wasn't expecting to have. I knew he'd be good, but I've always got this kind of theory: if you can't judge a pet player until a year, and for him to play so well within the first game was miraculous. I was not expecting it in the least. And then obviously Tottenham happened, and now today's happened, and it's very clear that whilst having all the ability that he does, his intelligence, his vision, the way he sees his game already, because of these players he's only been with a couple months, and he knows the runs, he can orchestrate play so early. Obviously I'm taking most of this from the Wolves game, but it's all there. The intelligence, vision, as I said, the tight spaces, the technical ability, the engine that he's got on him. It's all great characteristics to have, and things that kind of lead to a successful Premier League player. But the one thing I don't think he's got quite yet, and something that he just needs to adjust to, is the kind of speed and physicality of the Premier League. There was quite a few occasions today where I felt that his distribution was not there, or he even got dispossessed himself because he was allowing the player to press him too hard. I think he is used to having a bit more time in Serie A, or at least when the player comes to press you, they press you in a less aggressive manner, and given other Premier League teams a blueprint of how to kind of shut him down, which is worrying being so early in his Man City career. But alternatively, it is so early in his Man City career that you can't really judge how he's going to adapt to the Premier League. And as I said, he's got the characteristics to thrive. He did look better than Tottenham, but I think that's because of Rodri. I said it in the last video where I don't think we're going to have the same amount of pressing issues as we did in the Tottenham game. I feel that having Rodri back, and it was clear today that the way we controlled the ball from deep was vastly, and the way we dealt with pressure was just vastly superior. A full fit, full form Rodri really changes this team, and that is a bit of a worry because we're so reliant on him. We are absolutely so reliant on him. But having Rodri there gave Reijnders an out, a sensible option, and relieved pressure for I think a lot of people around him who knew that they could give it to Rodri and it would be safe and the situation will be dealt with. I don't see this as a long-term problem though, and I don't see this as a he's 5'10", he's not physically able to deal with the Premier League, And I'm not saying this he needs to get big and strong, because like some of the brutes he's coming up against will be bigger no matter what he does to himself. So I just think this is a matter of, as an adjustment period, I feel that he needs to just speed up his distribution a bit more, realise that he's got a lot less time than he would have done. And like in anything in life, things take time. They definitely will not be fixed within 3 games. They will definitely not be fully formed in 1 game. If we can get a Reijnders Rodri midfield ticking like it could do, maybe the right back situation doesn't look so bad. Point number 4, and I'm stealing this a little bit, but we are nowhere near as intimidating as we used to be. Like, we've lost our steel. Neve brought it up on the show this week, and she is completely correct. Before, when teams were coming up against City, they knew they were going to face an extremely disciplined, difficult, physical, technical, just dominating team, a team that did go on to become the most dominant team English football's ever seen. And there was a fear factor in that. There was we have to just deal with this situation. We have to dig in deep and take what we take what we can, 1 or 2 counter-attacks, hope they come off, and that's all we can believe. I think Liverpool were the only team who actually tried to go toe-to-toe with us, and it was a success. Obviously, teams did try it, and it didn't quite work. Even when Arsenal first had Arteta, it was big brother, little brother. But now, you look at things and we've got a soft underbelly. We are gettable. It's the Predator quote, like, if it bleeds we can kill it. Like, people see us now, they see our weaknesses, the right back situation for one, and know that we are there for the taking. It's not going to be as much of a turnover as it was before. There were shades of that middle third of last season in this. There were opportunities to win the game. We could have had it completely wrapped up in the first half, and we were nowhere near clinical enough, which is ironic considering Haaland's got 88 or 89 goals in his first 100 games, something ridiculous, like probably the most lethal person in the Premier League, and I'm complaining that we're not clinical enough. But not wrapping up a game early as we could have done leads to the fear, the anxiety that builds into our teams. And when Fabian Herzler made those changes, instantly you saw it was a 4v4 in their attacking third. So they decided, let's just pile on the pressure here. City haven't wrapped up the game, let's just take it to them and put the pressure on them, because we know they can't deal with it as well as they used to, and it worked. Does this come from a younger squad in a transition that's taken longer than expected and probably still isn't finished? Is it because Rodri's out or Rodri's coming back into it? But even with Rodri today, we obviously weren't anywhere near good enough. He was good enough, definitely. He was great. I don't really think he put a foot wrong, and we looked much better and we looked more comfortable with him on the pitch, as you kind of expect. But the quality elsewhere doesn't match up to what he's giving. And I remember, I'll put it on screen if I can find it. He had some crazy stat, I remember, of games that he hadn't lost in ages, and then his first start of the season he's already lost. Like, it's just a mark of we are no longer the juggernaut that we used to be. We are definitely just another decent Premier League team. And this brings me quite nicely onto my last point number 5, which is for the second week in a row, Pep has been outclassed. Now, I vowed that I wouldn't be sensational or trying to be sensational on this channel. Everything I say would be purely if I meant it or thought it or believed in it. I'm not going to say anything just to be outrageous. But are we finally seeing the cracks in the Pep Guardiola Enigma code? Now, Guardiola changed football, as quite a few managers have done over time. But the thing I find really impressive about Pep Guardiola in doing so, that he's done it in this age of technology and information, where you can break down a game so well, you can break down players, you can break down tactics, you can do absolutely anything in terms of study football. Just the average person could do so. So let alone what they're doing within clubs. You can expose teams now in a way that, let's say, no player or team had been done before 2010. So to do it over a 15-year period is absolutely monumental. I mean, I remember using tape, actual tape, not SD cards, tape, and imagine in 2004 trying to review footage. It must have been the most fucking annoying thing in the world. But all dynasties come to an end. We've seen it throughout time, throughout everything, not just football. And are we starting to see it with Pep Guardiola? I think for the Premier League, that question needs to be raised. And this is not to say that he's washed, he's ruined, he's rubbish, anything like that. The Premier League is in a state of, when it comes to managers, it's the best it's ever been. It's the best any league has ever been for just quality of managers. Now, most of these managers would have studied Pep quite vigorously. Pep's been around for over 15 years, playing a very similar style of football, and he's been at City for a decade, putting the same, implementing the same kind of football over a decade in the Premier League. And so all the information's available. All the information to break him down is there. Like every tactical revolution that we've ever seen, it gets studied to the point where you have to go so far from the original tactic or system to show somebody something new that they haven't already seen. So how far does Pep have to go with this Man City team? How much does he have to revolutionise it and change it to make it work, to make it as good as it used to be? because everyone knows how he's going to play. Pep's contract runs out in 2027, and personally, I don't think he can do enough to put Man City back on that pedestal within that time. I think his cards are shown to everyone in the league, and they have been for some time, and he can't really take him back and hide it from the league without getting a new hand. I think maybe that analogy works, but yeah, I think we've seen the best of Pep in the Premier League now, just because everyone is understanding the way he plays, and I don't think he can change it enough to put himself back up there. So that was a hopefully coherent, very tired 5 things I learned this week against, what is this? What am I doing? Hopefully that was coherent enough for you. I'm extremely tired. My eyelids are trying to shut themselves, but that was 5 things I learned from Brighton versus City. As I said, I will be doing a live stream for the deadline day that is coming up very quickly. I am really looking forward to sleeping. If you got this far in the video, stick the word Kuznov in there, because I was meant to talk about him and how good he was and how I think he's going to be so important for City, but completely forgot. So Kuznov in the chat if you did see this. Love you lots, and I'll see you next time.